right, how you doing, everybody? Welcome to this Black Art and Culture podcast. My name is Scott Terry, Mahogany Gallery here located in Racine, Wisconsin. And we have a really exciting, amazing guest today. I'm really excited to have on board with us today. And a young brother by the name of Jawaune Johnson. How you doing, Jawaune?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good. I'm excited to have you here at Mahogany. You've been exhibiting in the past two shows, the Black Humanity Now show, as well as our current show, Resilience and Legacies. And, again, we're really excited to have you with us today. So we're going to just kind of jump right into it, man. So how you doing, by the way?
I'm doing well. I'm feeling grateful, feeling blessed right now.
Right on.
Yeah, that's all I can, focus on for the time being,
Yeah, right on. Dig it. So let's jump right into it, man. So tell us about Jawaune. Who was Jawaune Johnson?
Yeah, so my name is Jawaune Johnson. I'm from a west suburb of Chicago called Hillside, Illinois, born and raised. I went to undergrad at Carthage College and got my bachelor's degree in graphic design, and then took a year off to work at a therapeutic school. It's called Acacia Academy, where I was a paraprofessional there for about 1.5 to 2 years. And then after that, I went back to school, which I'm at now. I'm in grad school right now for art therapy counseling. And so that's what I've been doing currently. And I'm also starting a job right now. Actually started today, too. With Craft Alliance, where I'll be working on a mural with high school kids in the area, St. Louis, by the way. So very exciting things to come, very much a lot of opportunities in terms of creatively. I guess like for me personally, I like, in terms of my hobbies, I love making art, and I like the outdoors too. I like playing, sports and stuff like that too. And I'm a social person. And that's like, is that like what you wanted in terms of about me?
Yeah, it's all good. Whatever you want the world to know. It's your time to get on the platform and shine. So I'm gonna ask you a few questions here, brother. So what about creatively? What would you say inspires you? Where do you get your inspiration from?
Yeah, so I guess I can start off with the blueprint of like who I am. And of course, I have to mention Jean-Michel Basquiat as an artist and as my inspiration, because before I did not consider an art career at all until I saw Basquiat's work. Then once I saw his work, I was like, that's art. Like, I want to make stuff like that. So I would say Basquiat is the blueprint and like of how I approach my work and how I see my work. And also in general, like in terms of my inspirations is of course Black culture and a Black perspective and Black people across the Black diaspora. And so like I grab inspiration from my own experience, but I also grab inspiration from the African roots as well. And it's, all that's rooted in ancestral knowledge of our ancestors and like where we come from and like where we was, pre-colonialism type thing, So it's like something that I'm like processing through, like as a Black person in America, as an African person in America, as I make art. It's like I'm channeling through my ancestors, I'm channeling through the divine, where I'm able to just get these messages out and like kind of, get some insight on myself, but like allowing other people to get insight on themselves as well, as a divine like healing, because I believe that art is a means of healing and art is a means of understanding and insight and connection and community work. And I believe all those things, and like I try to embody that within my work.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that's beautiful, man. And it really shows in your work too. You have a really, unique, eclectic style. I know you mentioned about, Basquiat, and, of course, Basquiat is a major influence, on many artists, but yours is different. There's some similarities, but, you put that Jawaune Johnson sauce on it, if you will. Yeah. So you talked about, well, one of your pieces that was really popular here and people resonated with was several of them, but one of them really stood out as that's the death of saints and sinners. And then also a man was lynched. Can you Can you speak on each of those? Just kind of like, where your thought process was on those and, how did they, come to fruition?
Yeah, so I made both of those pieces at the start of COVID. So it was about during the summer, and I was at the time, like of course, I was at my folks' house, and I was feeling like a combination of emotions, from COVID itself to, like there was like a uprising of protests around the country too as well. From Kenosha to Chicago, from other cities around the country. So it was just a cesspool of just emotions, like bouncing around, like within, my environment, but also within myself eternally as well. So my mama always told me, and like shouts to her, like my parents in general, like shouts to my dad too as well. Like they told me that like whenever I feel, like a cesspool of emotions, I have to like, release that, through the images and through the art. So like I just got to work basically like through many different pieces during that time, and it bred, the pieces of Saints and Sinners and The Man Was Lynched. And it's a combination of many different images and a combination of other art pieces as well. And I guess I'll go into the specifics and the themes, within each piece. So I'm gonna start with the death of Saints and Sinners. So how I was thinking in terms of that specific piece was I was thinking of us collectively, as we look out into the world, like the majority of us, like to kind of sit back and see what's going on type thing, and I'm guilty of this too, like we just, we have the innate ability and an innate, understanding of wanting to survive and not get into things that is detriment, towards our own being, our overall. And how I looked at, people and like how we was looking out to the world is that like there was really a lack of action and a lack of understanding of these systems, like these oppressive systems that like Black people are in shackles, in this current time. So, and like also grabbing inspiration from religion as well, like specifically Christianity is like always this idea of like there's the saints and there's the sinners, just like, a divide between like groups, just like the concepts of race. When Europeans came over here, they created the concept of race, Black and white, superiority versus inferiority. So within these groups, they, continue to divide us, into groups of, who's superior, who's most powerful, and who's inferior, who's like, the peasants, or who's, inferior, who's the saints and sinners type thing. And I guess like for me, it was kind of like showing, myself in the world that like, regardless of like these groups, like the great divine like looks at us, the same way, regardless. And like we all gonna get our judgment day, regardless of these, groups that like people created. So, like I wanted to kind of like tackle that in terms of just like looking at the world and just seeing like the danger Black people are in. Realizing that it's no mistake, it's no mistake that we're in a position now. Like it was created for a reason. And did that explain that piece? Do I need to go more into depth of something specifically?
No, that's good, man. I mean, that's pretty deep, powerful as it is right there. That's a lot.
That was good. Okay. I just want to make sure. I don't want to miss anything, or, I want to make sure like everybody like gets a better understanding of like my work. So. Yeah,
right on. Yeah, that's exactly why we're doing this, so people can get a better understanding for your work and your thought process behind it. That's pretty deep, man. There's and I would say too, that's pretty poignant for a young brother. You're relatively young in the game, and just young in life, and that's a beautiful thing. That's a blessing, and you come with a wisdom and an awareness, that's typically relegated to someone older, so shout out to you for really being able to receive that and then disseminate that through your work. So yeah. So tell me about, who were, so you mentioned, Basquiat as one of your major influences. Are there any other artists that come to mind when you think about, influences to you in your work?
Nothing comes to mind at this point in time. I'm not really good with names that well, to be honest. But like if I was to see something, specifically, then I would, be more drawn to it. And I able to describe like, the feelings behind it and the sensations within my body. And I guess I'll speak in terms of like what makes, I guess like how do I know if I'm inspired or not type thing.
Okay.
I think like when it's like an emotional connection towards that piece specifically, and I get like certain sensations in my body specifically, like within my stomach area, is when I know, per se that like I'm inspired by this specific piece. So it's like more so like within the body.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm not really good with like remembering names, but I definitely remember the feeling, attached to that specific piece.
Yeah, and that's what art does. I mean, you have emotional and sometimes, as you mentioned, physical connections to, the work and the inspiration and the body of work and the artist too. Yeah, that's interesting, man. That's interesting. So what do you feel? Go ahead.
I was just saying, like, can I speak on a specific experience at the Art Institute? Can I speak on that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so like with the Art Institute, they had like the specific gallery exhibition surrounding like African like art from like I think the 15th, 14th century or something like that,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and very good work by the way, but like I want to talk more about the ancestral knowledge that like these works kind of
represent,
upheld.
Yeah.
As African Americans who is from Africa, of course. And I remember specifically that day when I was surrounded by these pieces. It's unspeakable, like the type of knowledge that our ancestors had even back then, and just how they're able to speak through us through that art pieces, with the mask, specifically African mask. I was reading something about the African mask, like they use that for ceremony, and they use that to greatly connect with that specific spirit that connects with that African mask. And which is why like I love one of the things, which is why like in my art I love to do like faces, and like I love to do like just specific like masked faces too, which is why I was like more leaned towards it. And it was interesting because I was just trying to make, again, like I try to make connections with the ancestors, and like it was interesting how like the connections with the mask and like with my own art too, like it was just very like much an aha moment, because I could definitely see like the reflection between the ancestral work of the African masks and like other like art pieces, and like also like within my own art as well. And like just feeling that within my body, I felt a more connection towards the ancestors too. So it was just a cool experience. It was a very like riveting, exciting experience for me.
Yeah, it's very ethereal, I don't know how to pronounce that word. But it's, it kind of reminds me of what you're saying. It kind of reminds me of that scene in Black Panther where, have you seen Black Panther?
Yeah.
Go to the ancestral realm.
Right.
And like, his dad is this Black Panther, and like you see, like I felt that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like my ancestors as well, and we're all connected. But like, I think about my grandparents and the icons that I really inspired my artistic journey. And that scene just really just resonated. It kind of reminded me of what you just spoke about, the connection that you had when you went through that space at the Art Institute. So I know what area you're talking about too. Yeah, so cool. So tell me about, I got a question for you. All right. Yeah. So if you had a superpower, okay, or you probably do. So what is it, or what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. Great question. I always think about, what superhero.
Yeah. Well, if you want to come back to it, we can come back to it.
Yeah. Can we come back to it?
Okay, we'll come back to it. But I was just thinking about that though, Jawaune. Okay, so we're gonna come back to it.
Yeah, I like that.
So next question: What is success to you? What does success mean, and what does it look like?
Success to me is connection, which could mean different things, of course. Connecting with self, connecting with ancestors, connecting with the divine, connecting with my family, my friends, my community, my village, personally, and just seeing the interconnections of, these relationships and how my art influences that. So I would say that's one part of like success. Like another part is expansion of consciousness, expansion of my thinking, my knowledge, the logistics of reality, but also like the expansion and greatness of the spiritual realms, and just like combining those knowledge into one to become like a holy, person who has many different perspectives. So I would say, yeah, that's like two. And then like a third one, I would just say like really just living and like expressing and like a sense of freedom within that expression, and like being able to freely, express, how I want to express myself. And another thing for me is like, I like to think from a collective and a communal standpoint. So it's like I want all of my community to eat. I want all of my people to eat. So it's like, be in that position to redistribute, my wealth, redistribute my time, back into the communities that desperately need, inspiration, or like, like resources, like, material resources. So food, clothing, shelter, et cetera, et cetera. Like I want to be, if I'm in that position, where I'm like in success, within myself, like I want to make sure that like my community is also successful as well. Because I know like living in Western society specifically, like we have like this individualistic nature of things and like how we move. And like there's always like a separation between everything, between nature, between ourselves, and between like how just like we interact with each other. And again, like we going back to the ancestral knowledge of just community and just community care, and like going back to just like the knowledge that like our ancestors have put on this earth for us to thrive, for us as Black people to thrive, as a race and as a collective. So yeah, I would say that's the gist of my success. It's very expanded. It's still ever expanding, still ever fluid. But
yeah, indeed, and that's really what life is, man. So that may change. Your definition of success may change, as you move along, your journey, or it may stay the same or expand in that one particular area. Right. So cool, man. That's a cool perspective. Now here's a question I like to ask all of our artists that we have on the show. Do you consider yourself a Black artist or an artist in the general sense?
That's another good question.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna come back to the original question, the first question that we're gonna come back to, and then we'll come back to this one. Okay.
All right, that's fine.
All right. So the first question was, name a superpower you'd love to have, or if you have one already, what is that?
Yeah, so okay, I'm thinking now, but I would love to be able to bend time or something like that, or to time travel.
Travel, okay.
Yeah, like different dimensions or something like that. I think that would be cool.
Okay.
Like time traveling, and then invisibility sounds cool as well. Reading people's minds and stuff like that too. There's a lot. Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot because I love like superheroes and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, sure. And that's kind of seen in your work too, reflected in your work. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna get back to the second question that we passed on, and that was coming back to I forgot what that was. Oh, do you consider yourself a Black artist or just an artist in the general sense of the word?
Yeah, that's also another deep question for me too. That's also something I've been thinking about. But can I say like it interchange? The titles of Black artists and artists, I believe it interchange depending on, I guess, the feeling of how I feel. Again, like I like to, move back and forth from the physical realm to like the spiritual realm. So I think like the Black artist is, if you think about it, Black artist is in itself spiritual. Being Black is spiritual in itself as well. At its core, like we're all spiritual beings. But it's like, I guess like at the same time, it's like, where did Black come from? Like is Black, did Black come from concept, or is it actually from? Yeah, that's like.
All right, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
good.
It's a loaded question.
Yeah. Well, again, that's what you're absolutely right. And there's no right or wrong answer. It's just a matter of how you feel, how you perceive yourself to be, or how other people perceive you. As an artist. So that question always gets people thinking.
Right.
Yeah. So I like answering that question. So here's the deal. Time flies when you're having fun. And this has been a great conversation with you, Jawaune. So we're gonna have. I got a few more talking points. All right, and then we're going to wrap it up. We got a lot of stuff we got to do today. One of the things I do want to touch on is we talked about the mural project with young people. Can you expound on that a little bit? What are you doing? How did you get involved, and sort of what's the goal with that?
Yeah. So how I encountered this opportunity was actually through my school, through like my art therapy counseling program. One of the professors sending emails, collectively, to us saying that like, hey, like there's an opportunity, if you're interested, then apply. So, I did the usual, like applying like with the cover letter, with the application itself, and then with my resume as well. And then actually I just had the interview last week and it went beyond my expectations. Like the person that basically was saying that like he loved my experience and like who I am as an artist, but also as an art therapist as well. I guess it's that duality between the two. And he basically was just like, this is going to be the short interview like I ever had. And like, we're going to hire you on the spot. So it's a blessing. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to get in these spaces and to really just like, share my perspective and to just like continue to, teach, because like through my art, I also teach as well, either visually or whether, I'm talking to you, I'm talking to somebody else. So it's just like I'm using my gifts and talents to like just teach and like really just give back, as much as I can, and also will pay the bills as well. So that's also, gotta have, some type of financial security. So that's something that I'm proud of as well. And I actually start today, and I guess I'll let you know how that goes. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for what's to come with that. It's with Craft Alliance, by the way. Shout outs to them. And it will be in St. Louis. It's called Summer High School. I was looking it up. It was like one of the first, I believe it was one of the first African American schools in that area. And it's like nearby the Mississippi River too.
Cool. Yeah. Well, man, shout out to you, Jawaune. That's everything you spoke on, especially with this mural project. Really speaks to who you are as a person. What you've been doing. The legacy you're working to build for yourself as an artist and a community activist, and being spiritually minded. So we're gonna salute to you, today for that, getting the new gig with the mural, your work here at Mahogany Gallery. So I just want to thank you for your time spending with me today, on this interview for the podcast. And for everyone who's watching, just real quick, Jawaune, where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so you can just follow me on Instagram. That's where like all my artists are. It's called Mom Got Chicken.
Right. So go follow.
The story behind it, but yeah, you can follow me on Mom Got Chicken.
Right on.
Instagram.
So everybody go follow Jawaune Johnson, Mom Got Chicken. That's actually how I found Jawaune too, actually. He had a unique username for his IG, and I never asked about that, but it's a cool name. Mom Got Chicken. I think about my mom. My mama got chicken too.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us, Jawaune. For everyone else, you can see Jawaune's work here at Mahogany Gallery, 1422 Washington Avenue, located in Racine, Wisconsin. He's in our current exhibition, Resilience and Legacies here. And, again, thanks for joining us, Jawaune. Peace and blessings to you, and much success moving forward.
Thank you.
Right on. All right. Peace, everybody. Peace, Jawaune.